I think we're here. All right. Excellent. Hello, friends. Sorry for the, messy technical effort sometimes on my part, but I believe we are live on Zoom or live on YouTube for our second creation liturgy, our day 2 liturgy. And I'm really grateful tonight to be joined by my husband, the Reverend Dr. Ted Cole, who I believe you can see. Thank you for being here tonight, Ted.
It's a pleasure and a privilege to be with you tonight to celebrate day 2 of the creation series.
Excellent. All right. Well, I've already lit our candles for tonight. And if you were here with us last month, you know this is a very simple liturgical moment that we're taking together. But I like to light the candles to remind us of God's presence, of the light that we've already been celebrating for a whole month together. And thank you to everyone who's come to a workshop, who's participated in this creation journey we've been creating together, creating art, writing, reflecting on our dreams. And I'm just so grateful for everyone who's joined in. It's really been just right. And we've been reflecting on light. And I guess before I read the passage for day 2, I just want to bring us back to the presence of the light. I invite you to just take a minute to think about what has been emerging in you. And I particularly want to invite you to think about the light as this invitation to be compassionate and curious about our experience of being human. Chelsea really helped us to think about compassion and curiosity as mechanisms by which we receive love and wisdom. So, as I read the scripture tonight, I invite you to be compassionate and to be curious. So, here we have Genesis chapter 1, verses 6 through 8. And God said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above it. And it was so. God called the expanse sky. And there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. I'll just invite us to take a minute of silence to receive those words. All right. Well, Ted, I think what we'll do is we'll just each take a turn sharing the insights that we have about this passage, and I will take the liberty to go first.
Always.
So we've been journeying with light, and now we have not a separation between light and darkness, but a separation between the waters of life. And this expanse has entered in between the waters above and the waters below. And Swedenborg speaks about day 2 as the recognition that we have both an inner life, an inner reality that is connected to heaven, that is eternal, that is connected to God, really directly and in this eternal way. And then we also have an external life, a physical body, a place in community, family, all the concerns of the flesh. Hey, Miso. Cats to take care of. So for me, as I sit with day two, I'm really thinking about this truth that I certainly recognize in my own experience, right? There's all kinds of things going on inside me that are really mine and that are where I receive intuition and insight. It's where I experience love. And it has a huge effect, what's going inside of me has a huge effect on my embodied life, the life around me. And much of the spiritual journey is about taking responsibility for that, coming into deeper communion with our inner lives, so that we take a little more responsibility for our life and for how it's unfolding. And I think what I'm reflecting on, and I'm excited to reflect on this with others throughout the month as we go into our workshop settings, is how my sense is for some time now, especially for people like me who are living in within religious community and conversations, and maybe it even goes beyond the world of religion, I don't know. But we've had this tendency to really prioritize our ideals and our beautiful visions of what can be, sometimes to the detriment of our actual lived experience. And that's a big part of what's going on for me in my life right now. Is it's wonderful to have these great visions and ideals of how God longs for us to love one another and how beautiful life can be, and we're really called to bring that into our actual bodies and our homes and our relationships. And if we only live in the vision without really trying to bring them into being, that can become very disassociated and distanced from reality. And so I think as I come to day two, I'm really thinking about the need that I have to listen within and to really cultivate that inner space, but then also to live and to honor the experiences of my body and the experiences of my life, and to look for how to bring those two like more and more together. And that's very much at the heart of my vision of the collaborative and Worship is Life, the Substack that I publish. And it's lovely to be having this conversation with you, my darling, because I think both of us are pretty heady people, right? We're both clergy. We're both very interested in this journey of the spirit and the ideals of what it is to be connected to God and listening to God. And we're able to have this conversation. I mean, it's so cool. And we struggle sometimes to figure out what to make for dinner and how to manage the life of our home and our family. And I think we're not alone in that. And I am grateful to be able to have these conversations with you, because I think it's what is helping our world to bring change, right? This is change comes from those higher intuitions often, and those ideals of beauty we want to bring into being. So it's good to sit there and to be in conversation, and it's so necessary to bring that into reality and into how we choose and how we live. And we're working on that every day. So that's those are my reflections for day two. I wonder what you might like to bring.
Thank you, Sage. There's much to ponder in the realization of our inner life and our outer life, and the call to balance them. And I'll reflect a little on personal experience with inner life, and how it can be quite challenging at times. And I want to play with the realization that of the days of creation, it is only day two that is not declared to be good,
Yeah.
which I don't think means that it's bad.
Yeah.
It's a necessary day. The rest of the days don't follow if day two doesn't happen. And at the same time, there's something striking about it, that this day is different than the others, that it's not named as good. And I'm going to find myself reflecting on kind of our ancient ancestors' imagination, and how this day is bringing two elements into being of the four. Right, this is bringing air and water into a relationship with one another, and without that possibility, we would just be drowned. Right? Water would just wash us all away. So this differentiation of water, this separating waters above from waters below, creates sky within which we can breathe. And inner life can sometimes drown us. It can be overwhelming. And I think there's the particular contemporary or modern challenge of when we deny we have an inner life, it comes roaring back to us in obsessions, consumerism, hyper patriotism, all kinds of horrific ways, addictions, all kinds of ways that it comes back to us. But I had a particular experience in the emergence of my inner life in my dream life.
Yeah.
And in my early 20s, I had a recurring dream motif, really. And it was of a massive wave rising up over me as I was standing on a beach, and of that wave threatening to just wash me away, to just drown me out. Water with no sky, right? Water that becomes the sky and comes crashing down. And as it turned out, I would discover that there are things that had happened in my early life that I didn't know about, in my family of origin, that were traumatic and that I needed to start to face. And those dreams were a marker of that, that if your inner life is going to breathe, you need to enter into this reality and to face it. And dreams continued with me on that journey. And those images of the motif culminated in one particular dream that was really, really important to me. This is after I'd entered into some serious counseling conversations, both spiritual direction and therapeutic conversations, to kind of complement my grasping with this reality about myself that I didn't know. And I had a dream where I'm out on the water on a boat, and there's a person next to me, a man, I think, and I see the robes that he's wearing, but I don't see him. And he says to me, "I think you're ready for this now." And he puts on the water a surfboard. And I, without thinking about it much, having never surfed in my life, step out off the boat and onto the surfboard. And the boat pulls away from me very quickly and dramatically. And I see this massive wave start to form on the ocean above me. And intuitively, marvelously, wonderfully, I start to surf it. And I feel it in my body. I can feel the experience of catching the wave and having its force push you, and using the balance of your body left and right to maneuver. And the wave curls over me. So a little mini sky inside the curl of the wave, and I surf it until it crashes. And as surfer does, you shoot out, right? You shoot out of the crashing wave. And it was an exhilarating experience, absolutely exhilarating. And I find myself lying on my surfboard, and I look in the distance, and I can see there's a beach right over there. There's dry land. It's not today, it's day three. There's dry land right there, and I can see people walking on the beach. And I have the thought clear in my mind, I can paddle to shore from here. And I start to paddle on the water to head towards the dry land. That's, to me, a very powerful evocation of the energies of the symbols of day two, right? God is speaking new possibilities that create new relationships, and the possibility of evolving, growing, marvelous life that can be in relationship with God and that can be in relationship with one another. But if we don't weather the crashing waves, if we don't have that experience of not getting overwhelmed by the income of the spiritual life in its fundamental forceful form, which water is so evocative of, it won't happen.
Yeah.
It won't happen. So we have to learn how to surf the two waves, right?
Mhm.
Surf the waters below so that we can have water above and have space between it. And there was an uncertainty for me in that time, right? I'm still on the surfboard. I don't have solid land. Solid land had to come later. That was a further developmental process. But this dream created space for that next step to happen. So, listening to the conversations around day one and folks' reflections about our experience of oneness and separation's necessary for us to enter into full relationship with God, but it's also this loss and this darkness. It's been quite powerful to hear that. And I think that theme echoes here again, right? We need this separation of waters, the waters of life, to create space within which we can breathe and take the next steps forward so that our growth, our evolution, our spiritual maturation um, might continue to evolve.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that image of surfing. I imagine that will be useful to people. I think keep thinking about that expanse. Exactly, it's some kind of form, something that holds us in between, so that we can carry both of these energies. And I like that you brought up it's the only day that isn't said to be good, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. And there's
Mhm.
such a resonance with that and the second creation story of the Garden of Eden. Certainly within my tradition, that's one of the things that we really challenge is that that story is not about an original sin, but a necessary separation, a necessary, that formation of ourselves as separate is just a necessary part of the process. And it's not good, but it's not
Mhm.
bad because it's not ultimately true. And when we get to the end of the journey, we can see that we can honor our oneness and see ourselves as separate at the same time. So that's where we're headed. That's what's actually true. And on day two, though, we're still at that early part of the journey where we really have to feel this separation. And that separation will start to shift as we go on the path. One of the questions I've put out there for people to reflect on during day two is how they're holding boundaries in their lives, how they're making space, as to surf the waters, to listen to the higher wisdom of the upper waters. How we're making space because next month we're going to be getting to the land and kind of where we are bringing all of this into being. This month is really an opportunity to to not jump to where is this going to go, to not jump to what's this all going to look like or where is it going to land ultimate expression, but how are we listening? And I think it's appropriate you and I are doing this together because we're also leading this dream group, and dream work is one such form, one such way to listen. And you're not really creating anything. You're just listening and being curious and wondering. And that phase of listening and being curious and wondering is what we'll be bringing into being this next phase of our lives. It's how we make choices about where we're headed. Thank you for sharing a dream. It was definitely a dream of mine too that came just a couple days ago that I've been really sitting with. I think we have a little time. Maybe I'll share that dream and then we'll close. I've kept these offerings to about 25 minutes. But since you offered us a lovely dream, I just want to share. I recently, just a few days ago, had a first dream I've had in a long time, and it was a lucid dream, so it was even more remarkable. And in the dream, I'm in upper, this very spacious building that's kind of empty. There's not a lot going on, and there's just a few men milling about. And one of them makes this motion, like a swiping motion. And when I see that, I kind of immediately realize I have a choice, and that's when I become lucid in the dream. That I have a choice to stay in this building or leave the building. Before I leave, I speak with a tall African American man who I now believe is really a symbol of you, honey. Your African American side, and he had the same beard that you have. And in the dream, I sort of tell him I'm leaving, and I say to him, I'll be patient with you, which, if you guys know much about our marriage, patience is a quality I am working on. So I say to you, I'll be patient, and then I leave the building and I immediately start flying. and it's just this, talk about exhilaration, like surfing. And I start flying, but really falling down this hill, but in the air, so it's not painful, until I get to a low spot. And in the low spot, I rip off all my clothes, and I'm on a beach looking up at the sky. And there's just this beautiful star-filled sky. Not only stars, but alien spacecrafts and like symbols. There's all kinds of information in the sky and presence. And it felt very powerful, especially because I'm coming down to the earth, which, as I already mentioned, is something that feels like my work right now, to come down to the earth. But I come down and I'm near the waters, which is what we've discussed. And really looking at the star and all this possibility, which I think is so much of what the collaborative is to me right now. It's just like, we could do anything. We could go anywhere. We could create anything we want. And I'm naked on the beach, It's like, what's going to be next? It's definitely an unknown place, but a place of so much opportunity, and so honestly, so much more opportunity than I think I felt at the beginning of the dream, when I was just kind of in this empty, nondescript building. Like, I think this collaborative work for me is, let's get out of the building, let's find the earth, let's put our feet in the water, and then let's look up at these stars. And I'm so curious how my dreams will unfold, because when we get to day 4, it'll be all about looking at the stars, looking at the sun, really finding that star that's leading us along the journey. So it felt like this dream was coming to say, okay, here we are. And I don't know, and I think I'm looking for my other people who sort of see the same things in the sky and want to go together. We need companions if we're going to follow a star. We want other people to be on the journey with us. And anyway, it felt like a lovely guidepost for me, and really a day 2 dream, with the vision of the sky above and the waters there below. So thank you for listening, and thank you for listening, friends. I hope that dream meant something to some of you. And if you've been having your own dreams during the creation journey, I invite you to join Ted and I. We hold a dream group on the second Mondays of the month during the creation series.
That's February 9th this month, 11 to 12:30.
11 to 12:30, yeah. And so we offer that as another means for listening. And there are many things happening this month, so I hope you'll join any of the workshops that might work for your life. And do you have any last thoughts before we say goodbye, Ted? I see the boys maybe asking for attention.
We just wish everyone blessed dreams.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. We look forward to connecting you over the month. And I look forward to being with you for our next creation liturgy, where hopefully I'll be with 3 people. I plan to increase my guests each week in connection to the day that we're on. So happy dreaming, blessed listening and being, and we'll see you again soon. Good night, everyone.